Today we have a very special guest. It's James Allen, Mr. Productivity himself. But actually, I invited him to the podcast to talk about how you can create a passive income. And he's going to tell us all about that. But before we get to that, James, how did you get here? Who are you? How did you become so good at productivity and passive income? Just tell us a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be hanging out here and nerding out on being more efficient with our time and whatnot and systems and everything in our businesses for sure. I just want to full disclosure. I'm not like some dude that's at the top of the mountain. I'm the guy scaling the mountain and just teaching people the things that I've learned along the way.
Very humble. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I just don't want it to be like, oh, this guy, like, no, I mean, I'm just being real, you know, it's, but I've learned a ton, and I do create passive income in my business and stuff. And it's just kind of, we'll touch into this a bit more about how it's just a long game kind of mindset. Cause when people hear passive income, they think like, oh, I can make money without doing anything. It's like, you can kind of, because you still have to work, but we'll touch into that. Basically, I was in construction work, years ago, and I followed my dad's footsteps, and I was young and I was making about 6 figures a year. So I was doing good, but I was just drained. I was working ridiculous hours, and I was like, I just don't want to do this my whole life. And I could see from my coworkers who I was going to be. And I was like, everybody's kind of just going to turn into this at some point. There were some people who were the outliers, and I was like, I try and be them, but I just didn't like it. And that was the bottom line. So I found out about coaching and doing life coaching and stuff and speaking on stages, creating content. I was like, wow, I can turn that into a business too. Like, that's a thing. And I was watching Tony Robbins and other people, and I never thought of me being that type of person. So that kind of got me into the industry, really. And I got certified as a coach through a coaching institute and stuff. And it was a lot of fun, and it was exciting. And I was speaking on stages and I was working with people, but it was more general. And I didn't want to be a generalist, and it was difficult to market myself in that way. Mm-hmm. And I knew that marketing was kind of the piece that's actually going to let me have a business. And that's what a lot of coaches struggle with. So I was one of them. And then I found out, I was like, well, I'm pretty good at like productivity. I've learned a lot of ways to be more efficient with my time and energy and whatnot. So I started helping people with that. And as I was getting clients and whatnot, working at growing my business, I learned from a couple of other mentors like Graham Cochran, Ramit Sethi, that you can build online courses and build a business that can work for you and make money while you're sleeping. And I'm like, dude, that's the ultimate form of productivity. So I was like building out courses, and I'm trying to make this work, and I kept failing over and over again, but I wanted like that end result of like passive income. Like, if I'm going to build a business, like that's what it's going to be, or a huge part of it is going to be that, I still do coaching because I like coaching. And, it ended up working. I remember the day that I got my first sale was overnight. I woke up, just a normal day, looked at my dashboard in Kajabi is the tool I use. And I saw that I overnight made $197 or $200.
Isn't it the most amazing feeling that
it was crazy
money?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had done plenty of like $3,000 like coaching deals, 5K, even a 10K coaching deal, which is incredible.
This was your first online course.
It was my first passive income sale. And I created courses and I sold them as like downsells on the phone, but everything was like on the phone. I had to manually do it. So this is the first sale where I wasn't doing anything, and I was like freaking out, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I looked at the person who paid for it, and I'm like, do I know this person? And I had no idea who this person was. I'd never seen their name. I have never had any sort of like interaction with them other than the system that I had created. And I was like, this is freaking crazy. And there were 2 tiers of the program. So it was a $197 or a $297 version. So shortly after this, another one happened where I got the $297. And I was like, oh my God. And it just kind of like snowballed, and that's just kind of like where the whole passive income thing happened. And I was telling like clients that I was working with about it, because they like to hear what my wins are too. So I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a big win. They're like, whoa, like how do you do that? And then they wanted to learn more. And that's kind of what got me into the space of teaching things. But like I mentioned before, I'm not the dude at the top of the mountain. I'm just like the guy who's figured out some stuff, and I'm just like teaching people as I go, really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I tell you a cool story about that my daughter actually told me. It's like someone wanted to invest in gold, but they have no idea how to do that. And they talked to this guru and asked him, should I invest in gold? He said, oh yes, totally. I just bought a gold mine. And this person is going, I'm thinking of buying my first gold coins. I'm not in the gold mining I'm not there. So
Right.
that person was so far out of their experience. It's like it felt impossible. So
Mhm.
it's often the person that's just a few steps ahead of us that we can learn most from.
Yeah. Well, I think it is helpful too, because, um, like you have to kind of be a pioneer, and that's helpful for your business as well, whoever's listening to this. But like the people who have been at the top of the mountain, like they're obviously up there because they've been successful. They know what they're doing. So yes, we want to learn from them. We want
And
to
they are
model them.
inspiration. That's available. It's possible.
Totally.
I can get there too.
But
Yeah.
the thing about this is that it's all about audience building. If we're in the coaching, the expert industry, and we want to share ideas into online courses and membership sites or coaching programs, it's all about building your audience, really. And a lot of these people have built their audience from a long time ago, and then things change. It can be a little bit of a different approach or the way that you kind of do things. And sometimes, yeah, they can not have the same sort of, always, this doesn't always the case, but they don't always have the same sort of kind of empathy as someone who's not as far down, which can be a real benefit for people, because they can relate to them in a way different way. It's like meeting someone who's in like your same generation. If it's like two millennials, you can connect in a different way than someone who's like three generations separated from you. So,
Which we are, and we can still connect. So there
of course, it is. No, it is a thing. I'm just saying, like sometimes it can be
No,
helpful.
I get what you're saying. I'm just teasing you. Okay, James, but you have, before we got started, you told me about this program that you have. Is it a program teaching people how to get to is it $500 a month passive income? How do you do that?
Oh yeah. So
you have a framework. Please share.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is the framework that I had learned from like Ramit Sethi, Graham Cochran. They were teaching it, and they've been teaching it for a long time. And I was just started to do it, and it ended up working. But I basically compacted the whole thing into a 5-step guide that even if you don't know what your business idea is, like that's the first step, finding that great idea, even for a product too. But you can get that. It's totally free. Just go to profityourknowledge.com/guide. And I'll give Risa a link to the description, or in the description of this.
Yes. Okay. We will.
And yeah, it'll get you onto my email list, which I send out a bunch of free extra content. I make some offers every now and then, sometimes special deals and whatnot. So it's helpful to be on there. But that is literally like the roadmap on how it works. And I link to some videos and stuff. So definitely check out that guide. But basically how it works is that you have to know who your audience is and be really specific about the type of person or the group of people that you want to support, and then just find the questions that they're asking in the world on the internet and listen to people too and make content about that. Marketing is like a big buzzword, obviously, and it's huge because it's what grows our business. It's what gets us discovered, and then sales and all that. But marketing and sales, like in the most like bare bones way I can describe it, is just helping people. Like that is literally it. It's because that's how you connect with people. You find the questions. What are people really looking for? What are they interested in? This specific group of people and the specific thing I help those people do. What do they want to learn about it? So you keep finding, and there's endless questions on this, and I'll tell you some ways that you can tangibly like do this, but that's really what it is. It's showing up consistently. And I have a little mantra that I use in my business, whether it's booking a coaching call or getting discovered online for a passive income course, and it's connect, inspire, invite. So you have to connect with them in some way, inspire them to see the world a bit differently, and see opportunity for themselves with what you have to offer, and then invite them to take the next step, which could be to invest in your program. It could be to pick up your free guide, which is a key component to the whole thing, or buy your course. Okay, whatever program you have. So that is really like the basis of everything, is creating content that answers their questions and invites them to the next step. The way we do that is when it comes to passive income, and there's a lot of ways you can create income without doing anything. Paid ads can be one, where you're paying, put $1 in, get $2 back. I'm not the paid ads guy. I've invested in plenty of agencies, and I lost a ton of money who they said like, oh, this would be really easy, and I'm like, cool, let's do it. And then it wasn't, and I just saw $300, $500 every day, like just coming through. And I'm like, holy crap, this is terrible. So, no, I believe in free content is, I think, the best way. If you just think about like making YouTube videos is, I think, the best way to create passive income. You can do blogging as well. That's another great way. But YouTube video marketing is just hands down the most powerful way to market your business, because it's real human connection. I think the world needs that more than ever nowadays. And you can't fake that. With ChatGPT, you can have ChatGPT write a whole blog post for you. But Yeah, if you make a YouTube video, it's you.
It's you. Yeah,
It's there.
it's more
And
authentic. Yeah.
but it's beneficial because it's not like making a Facebook post or an Instagram post, because YouTube content lives on forever.
Yeah, it's like a lot more evergreen, right?
Yeah, it's evergreen. It's always there. And if you're finding the questions that people are asking about whatever you teach, like let's say you teach people yoga, how to do downward dog position or whatever pose, any one of the poses, like people are always going to be looking for that. Yoga is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
So if you think about like those big three categories of health, wealth, or relationships, like people are always trying to be healthier, trying to find a new love or deepen their love. They want to find ways to make more money, to save more money. Like you can't really go wrong in any one of those categories, just like where you kind of fit into one of those.
But James, I've heard that YouTube is kind of a tricky one to break into. You have to take the long view. You have to be patient with that. And that I'm not sure about the number, but it's like 99% of people never reach 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
It's really the 1% who make, because I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I think that people just kind of assume that if I just put out a video of any quality, it's just going to take off. And like, it's such a weird thing. Like I'm looking for YouTube coaches right now, and I have a handful of people I'm considering hiring for myself, because like it's a huge piece of the business to grow it. But like I see videos of people who have very low quality videos and they freaking blow up. And then I see other videos where people...
What's the secret there? You want that secret sauce. What do they do right? Yes.
Well, I see other videos where they're super heavily edited and they're really high quality camera and they underperform. And I'm like, I wonder why that is, So it's just kind of an ever like curious thing. But I don't think that should stop you. I think you should look at the bigger picture if you're listening to this, of like, it is a long game, and it's important to have, I think when you're building like a coaching business, a long-term strategy and a short-term strategy. Short-term strategy is like having real conversations, and you want to think about it like, a great analogy is like hunting versus gardening. So you want to do both. Gardening is like making YouTube content, having a good system that can make money for you passively, because that takes a long time. Okay. You have to plant the seeds. You have to prep the soil, water every day and like nurture it. And that takes time, building relationships, building an email list. But that is the most helpful way to really build your business long-term, because down the road, you get to a point where you can make sales that's how you can like send an email by having a good email list that trusts you and, sees you as an expert. You can send one email for a product and make 10 grand, without doing anything. So that's
a wonderful analogy. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Right. But when like hunting is like going out, doing actual phone calls, it's more aggressive, I guess, but it's
something. Yeah.
So you have to do that in the beginning, because like coaching someone one-on-one, you don't need any fancy tools. You can do it for free. You just need to know your audience and have something valuable and information that can help them, and know how to coach people. And you can learn that stuff online too, and just practice. With a course though, it takes a lot more planning, takes longer time. So that's the kind of difference with hunting and the gardening aspect. I think it's important to have both. So to answer your question about like, some people never hit 1,000 subscribers or whatever, like don't let that stop you. If you stay in the game and you keep learning about your audience and you find questions that people are actually looking for, and you do your best to answer those questions in a fun way and be yourself, and watch YouTube videos and whatnot, and trying to find ways to maybe change up the format or do multiple different formats, like you're going to hit that point. You just have to stay in the game long enough to win. But I think people quit too soon. And then they're like, oh, I want to have this passive income style business, but then they quit. And it's like, that's never going to get you to the passive income style business. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, this goes deeper into like mindset and kind of stuff, but YouTube videos are just the most beneficial. And if you want to find topic ideas, it's not that complicated. You just have to I like to listen to my audience. What are people really struggling with when I'm on a sales call with someone, or I hear just someone mention I'm struggling with this. I just wish I had something that allowed me to do this. All of those are just pain points and questions that people have. But if you go into Google, into the search function, and let's say you're a fitness coach and you say how to bench press, because you can help people with bench press, you're going to get auto suggested ideas. Okay, of like how to bench press more, how to bench press with dumbbells, with resistance bands, without a spotter. And then if you click on any one of those, you're going to go to the next page on Google where they have all the different blog posts. What's cool about YouTube though, is that YouTube is owned by Google. So if you type in how to bench press and I made YouTube videos on how to bench press, those videos are much more likely to show up in Google search on the first page of Google. And sometimes YouTube videos will pop up before even the ads that people put on.
I've seen that. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's like, it's just a great use of your time. That's the gardening that we're talking about. But that's one way. If you look down on the page, you may see this little feature called People Also Ask. And if you click on the 3 little dots and it has like the drop down menu of questions, they're all questions. They're questions related to how to bench press without a spotter. And then you can look at it and it's like, when am I ready to bench press without a spotter? All these different questions. And those can be standalone pieces of content, or they can be the actual content in of itself. Let's say you picked 3 of those People Also Ask questions. And then you had your search bar of like how to bench press without a spotter. So you said like something to do with how to bench press without a spotter as your title. And then inside the content, you're like, we're going to cover this, this, and this. And it's the 3 questions that you found from the People Also Ask, because you know that this is content that, and if you even look at People Also Ask, there's 3 little dots. If you click on it, it says, these are questions people commonly search in Google, because Google wants you to have the best possible search experience. They want their users to be happy. So if we can think from the viewpoint of our audience, if they're learning how to bench press without a spotter in this example, these are the questions that they're searching related to that. Like, because Google wants you to just be like, hey, maybe you're also thinking about this. So us as creators can literally hijack all of this and then turn it into content. And what's cool too with People Also Ask, if you notice those, you click on a drop down, it auto populates like 2 or 3 more questions, and it will keep doing that, related questions to whatever you clicked on to the drop down. So you can literally have endless approaches to that one thing.
And you can make your own combinations, like you said, shorter ones with all of them, and then a long one expanded about one of them. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yes. So that's how you create content that's like pretty much guaranteed.
It's addressing a problem that people in the real world are having.
Yeah. And then you never know too, like I made a lot of videos when I was doing like productivity for that, because it was a productivity course that I made. That was my first passive income sale. And I was making a lot of different videos, and they were, getting a few views and stuff. And then I made one about like how to use Google Calendar effectively, and it bumped up to like 10,000 views, and it just kept climbing. And it was getting me a bunch of opt-ins. So a bunch of people, when they opt in, they find you on the internet and you're answering questions. Then you offer a lead magnet, which is like that freebie that I shared, your first $500 per month of passive income. It's a freebie. It's something I give you in exchange for your email address. Okay, so create one. If you download it, whoever's listening, and you look at that guide, it's like 8 pages, okay, including the image at the top. So it's really like 7 pages of actual content, but it's helpful, and it gives you an idea of how this can work in your life and what's important to focus on and whatnot. So if you can create a guide that solves real quick a specific problem that your audience is facing, and in every YouTube video you make, you offer that, or it can be other content, but I think YouTube's just the best investment of our time. If you offer that lead magnet, basically you're creating a digital employee of yourself that answers questions, that gets searched.
You have a way of putting things.
that offers value to your audience. And if Risa, you're looking up like passive income, you're like, oh, this James guy's kind of cool. Like he's answering all my questions. It's really just hitting the head on everything. Then I offer, hey, I got this free 5-step guide that helps you earn your first $500 per month of passive income in 5 simple steps. You can download it, link in the description, or go to profityourknowledge.com/guide. And then you're like, it's a no-brainer, duh. So I'm going to click on it. And then in order to get it, you put in your email address. What's cool is that as soon as they put in their email address, all you're going to do is send a series of emails that's like 5 days, where you teach the first 2 days. Just teach, like start light, go deeper, and you're just teaching the first little bit. The 3rd day, you teach, and then you can like bust some common objections, like mental barriers people could have or something, and then transition into offering your product. Like, oh, by the way, I have a course that walks you through how to do all this. And then day 4 and 5 is more of a direct pitch. Day 5, it's good to do like a case study or something of like, hey, here's how this person went from here to here using this course. And people are like, oh, wow. So like actually someone's used it, it's been helpful for them. And then it points over, when they click on any of the links in there, it goes to a sales page. And the sales page, you have to learn copywriting and get good at that. And I have courses and products that like walk people through the things that I've learned on how to do that. But yeah, then pretty much when you get a good sales page, and good emails that lead people to the sales page, that's how you're basically creating this like beautiful system of like digital employees, if you will. Because every YouTube video you make that offers that lead magnet, new employee. So you just keep doing that for years.
Around the clock in all the time zones while you are sleeping, people are watching your YouTube video.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was watching someone's YouTube video. I'm like, it's crazy that like this person's just like, I don't even know what they're doing right now, but I'm watching their YouTube video and they recorded it when they had all this energy. You know, they could be sick. And it's like, it doesn't matter because their YouTube videos are working for them and it works like paid ads basically, but it's free.
Okay. Can I ask you like a question? It's probably unfair. So if you don't want to answer it, don't do it. If someone is completely green, they've never been in the online space, they've never created something like that. How long will it take someone, if they followed your process like diligently, how long before they get to like $500 a month?
It totally depends. Because it's really difficult to answer that question. What I have seen is that it can, you know, I guess if you're starting out, because if you're like starting out from ground zero, this is why it's difficult to answer it, and you have zero audience whatsoever, that's totally different than someone who's starting out, who already has a huge network from the work that they've done previously. But if you're like ground zero, like it's probably going to take you 6 months to a year. Like 6 months on the short side, because you have to focus on creating the YouTube content to build your audience before you offer anything. You have to just like start getting known. And that's where people are impatient. But realistically, like if I started doing that, everything I know now, when I first started, I would have been miles ahead, but I didn't know this stuff. I had to learn it down the road from trial and error and finding like, this is a good business model. And it's just one way to build your business. So it's totally different if you have a big network or you don't, or if you already have a big audience. So when I work with someone, I always like to know like what their expectations are in the next 6 months of what they want to do. And then it's like, well, I was just talking to someone like, I want to have like hundreds of courses sold and like all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what's your audience like? And they're like, I got like 3,000 people on Facebook. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't count. You know, it's like that's way different than 3,000 people on an email list who've committed to say, I want to buy into you enough to give you my personal information. So it's just a better quality lead. Okay. So I'd say if you're just starting out, like give yourself at least 6 months to a year of just like really showing up and posting like as much as you can. I'd say 2 to 3 times per week on YouTube, and just really diving in and just be patient with it, because it's the gardening approach of like be in it for the long run and show up with that mindset. And I mean, you're seen as not as someone who shows up for your audience, always gives them great content because you're answering their real questions, and then they start to trust you more. And then down the road, when you talk to them, you survey them, you send emails and whatnot to them and get to know your audience and look at the comments that they're posting, seeing which videos perform better, what types of videos, then you can start coming up with a product idea. And then you've already got these people who are interested in what you're doing. And then you can be like, hey, I made this product that you guys asked me for, or you said that you wanted, and it's clear that this is what you want. And then you can price that at like $100, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you have a passive income system, one of your YouTube videos could randomly just pop, and now you're getting 10,000 views plus, or, you know, whatever, 100,000 views or something crazy happens, even 1 million views. And then that's just all funneling into the system. It's like what's his name? James Clear said, he's like, you don't rise to the level of your habits, you fall to the level of your systems. And I think people have too many crappy systems where they don't get discovered and they don't capture an email list and then have a good email sequence with a good product. And then that's why they end up failing. So,
but I appreciate that response so much. It's just like setting up the expectations. If people are ready, listen, I have to just like do it for 6 months before I even think of a product.
If you're just starting out, like that's,
I
mean, that's
instant. Like, but it's just like everybody has their own journey, and that's okay. You know, it's like stay in your lane and keep doing the work.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, and I neglected this for so long when I was starting out. I don't know. I thought that it was just going to be easier, and it's like, it's not easy. I have a course called Effortless Income, and it's like, that's the benefit of it, but it's easy to hear that and be like, oh, I can make money without doing anything. It's like, no, you can get to a point where you have a solid system that does make you money when you're sleeping. If I make money when I'm sleeping, it's like, I didn't do anything extra, no sweat off my back, you know, but it took effort and work and time to build the system and to get there. Okay. So it's like, I mean, just people are impatient and they keep thinking, I need to keep trying different things, when in reality, it's like, if you can just focus on the few things that make the biggest impact and just stay consistent with those. That's like fitness too. If you focus on being in a calorie deficit, eating like high quality foods, not eating too much foods, like it's the simple, boring stuff repeated over and over and over again that gets you the dream body you always wanted. It's the same thing with your business.
Thank you so much. Is there something you want to end with? Have you said everything you wanted? Did you go through your whole process? I interrupted you so much because I got so excited.
No, I mean, I think that that's the biggest thing. If I give you any takeaway, this is a great business model that works. It's worked for me. It works for my students. It works for my mentors who I learned it from, and it's worked for a very long time. And when you understand the business model, you start watching people's YouTube videos and you start seeing how they're doing essentially the same thing. It's getting discovered on a platform that doesn't require you actively working all the time. You don't have to post every single day. You can do shorts and stuff like that, but just be smarter with the content and create this compounding content. And offer a lead magnet, always give someone that next step. And then have a good email sequence, like I mentioned before, of teach, transition, pitch. That's pretty much it. And I go over all of this inside that 5-step guide too. But like the biggest thing is that you can think about making videos all day. You can think about creating a product all day. The bottom line is like, I mean, even if you make products, it feels productive, but if you don't have an audience to share it with, then like it's a waste of time. So these are all things I wish I did when I first started, because I would have been so much further.
Listen to me and don't make the same mistakes I did.
Yeah, absolutely. So pick up the 5-step guide, profityourknowledge.com/guide. If you're interested, if you like this stuff, it'll be helpful. And check out my YouTube channel. I got a lot of cool stuff there as well. If you want to learn more.
All of that will be in the description. James, thank you so much for doing this. This was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it.